Dear students, welcome to lecture number 35 of the Signals and Systems course. In the last class, we looked at what are the limitations of discrete time Fourier transforms. We saw how DTFT does not exist for signals which are diverging. For example, if we have a exponentially increasing signal a to power n un, where a is greater than 1, in that case DTFT will not exist. Even for the case when a is equal to 1, which would basically give x of n is equal to un, we had derived the Fourier transform of un, and there also there were those mathematically abstract functions of delta Dirac functions in the frequency domain. So, even for un, the DTFT had to incorporate the singularities of a delta Dirac function, right. So, we saw that and definitely even if a is greater than 1, then DTFT would not exist even after incorporating those singularities. So, we saw that if we generalize this transform to a plane, a complex plane, what we get is Z transform. So, Z transform basically generalizes the transform domain from a unit circle to a Z plane, and then that allows us to extend the range of transforms to include a broader class of non-converging signals, right. So, in the last class we had seen that, let me define the Z transform again. So, if x of n is my signal, my Z transform x of z is given by summation n going from minus infinity to plus infinity x of n, and instead of e to the power j minus j omega n, I have z to the power minus n, and I have z is equal to r, z is equal to r e to the power j omega. We had also seen an example. For example, if h of n is a to the power n un, and if we have a greater than 1, in that case we had derived that h of z would be 1 upon 1 minus a z inverse, and a region of convergence would be mod z greater than mod a. So, we had also seen what this region of convergence would mean, that we are in the complex z plane. So, the x axis is the real component of the z variable, and the y axis is the imaginary component of the z variable. Here the blue circle is a circle of radius a, mod a. So, the region of convergence, so we said that this Z transform would exist only if Z is greater than, if Z is somewhere in the region outside the circle Z is equal to a. So, this region is called the region of convergence. This is called the region of convergence. So, we had also argued that a Z transform makes sense only when we accompany it with a region of convergence. So, this equation converges only for region of convergence, converges only in region of convergence. So, region of convergence is fundamentally important while defining the Z transform, right. So, how is Z transform different from the DTFT? So, DTFT in DTFT h is a function of omega, and when you change omega, you are basically moving on this red circle. So DTFT is defined on a unit circle in the complex z plane, whereas Hz, which is z transform, that is defined over this region. Right. So there has to be a relationship between Z transform and DTFT of a signal. We will look into that. So we will look into the relationship between DTFT and the Z transform, and then that will help us to arrive at the inverse expression for inverse Z transform, or the synthesis equation for this transform. So we now know that Z is equal to R e to the power j omega. If I again rewrite the expression for the Z transform, x of Z is given by this summation. I can replace Z with R e to the power j omega. So finally I get x of Z as summation over n going from minus infinity to infinity, x of n into R e to the power j whole power minus n. Right. Okay. There is a typo here. This should be minus n. Yeah. So now if you substitute it, you can club the term of R with xn together and write something like this. So I can write that x of z is this part is our new signal, and this is the expression for DTFT. Right, this is similar to DTFT. So I can say that the defining Z transform is equivalent to multiplying my signal with R to power minus n and taking its DTFT. Right. So if x of omega is the DTFT of xn, x of z is the DTFT of xn z r to power minus n. Of course, here the variable z is r e to the power j omega. Right. So notice what is actually happening here. If x of n is a diverging signal, what we are doing is we are multiplying it with r to power minus n. So as n increases, this would diminish. R to power minus n will go on diminishing. So it should be possible for some signals at least that I multiply x of n with r to power minus n, and then DTFT would exist, and so the summation would be existing. So I am actually compensating for the divergence of x of n by multiplying by a term r. So if the signal is diverging faster, I would require r to be larger. So my region of convergence should have to be adjusted as per the value of this r. Right. So it is possible that even if DTFT does not exist for xn, x of z may exist for suitable value of r. Right. So note that I am saying that it may exist. It may exist. It's not necessary that Z transform would exist for all diverging signals as well. So this Z transform increases the class of signals which can be represented in the frequency domain, but still not for all signals, and we will look at few examples. So it may happen that Z transform also does not exist for a signal, but definitely it extends the class of signals for which Z transform would exist. So, I would like to emphasize this may. And then DTFT exists if the region of convergence contains unit circle. So, for example, in this case, if A was less than 1, this is 1, this is 1, this is A greater than 1. So, this blue curve is outside. If A was less than 1, this blue circle would have been inside this red circle, and the region of convergence would have contained a unit circle, and the DTFT would have existed for such a signal, right. So, having understood what actually is happening here when we are defining Z transform, we will now attempt to find the inverse of the Z transform, right. So, let us find the inverse of Z transform. So, we again write the same equation, x of z is DTFT of x n r to power minus n, or I can write the same thing as x of n r to power n as inverse inverse Fourier transform of x of z, where z is r e to the power j omega. Recall the synthesis equation for, or the inverse DTFT expression for inverse expression for DTFT. So, in that case, if I write this in terms of this inverse expression mathematically, what I would get is x of n r to power minus n is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral over 2 pi x of r e to the power j omega into plus. So, there is a plus sign here, j omega n d omega. I can take this r on this r to power minus n from the LHS to the RHS, since r to power n is independent of omega or any variable, I can take it inside. So, I can write this as so I can bring this r to power n from here to this point. R to power n this point, and what we have is this. We know that z is equal to r e to the power j omega. So, I can write it, substitute it here. I also have to replace this d omega. So, I can write dz as r j e to the power j omega d omega. I can rewrite this d omega as dz by r j e to the power j omega. I substitute this this d omega in here. So, to finally get the expression x of n as 1 by 2 pi x of z divided by j r e to the power j omega into r e to the power j to power n. Note that this is z and this is z. So, I can write this finally as 1 by 2 pi j integral x of z j to the power n minus 1 dz, because there would be a z in the denominator here. So, you have n minus 1 here. So, note this n minus 1, right. Also, note this integral. This is a closed loop integral. Why? How do I get this closed loop integral? Initially, I was integrating over d omega, right. So, if I go back to my z plane, d omega is actually changing the angle, it is not changing the radius. So, this is a circle. So, I am integrating over a circle in this plane when I am integrating over d omega. When I integrate between so when I am integrating over d omega in the range 0 to 2 pi, I am completing one circle. So from 0 to pi by 2 to pi to 3 pi by 2 and to 2 pi, like this. So here the direction of my integration is also important. This is a counterclockwise. This is counterclockwise. So it is very important that this closed loop integral should be written down in your synthesis equation, and also the direction of this has to be there. So this direction is not trivial. So if you just write this is not correct. It has to be with a sense of direction, then only it's correct. Because in the, if you want to integrate it in the z plane, you need to know in which direction the contour has to be integrated. And yeah, and r can be chosen and as any value in the region of convergence, right. So this gives us the synthesis and the analysis equations. So this is my equation, while this is my synthesis equation. So we will solve inverse Z transform. So this is Z inverse, inverse Z transform. So we will have another separate lecture on various problems where we solve for the inverse Z transform. There can be multiple methods of solving this. One of them is solving this integral using Cauchy integral technique. We will look into some of the examples for various methods in which Z inverse is computed in a separate lecture. Right. So, for the remaining part of this lecture, let us look at properties of Z transform. Here again I would suggest you that you take a property, as I mention a property, you pause the video, derive the property on your own and then proceed, as we would have done in a actual class. So, it is important that you watch all these lectures, or even if you are looking at the PDF, you should derive your own things, do not just rely on these PDFs. So, we will look at the properties of Z transform. There are around 11 properties which we will be considering. So, the first property is linearity. This is again obvious. If x1 of n has a Z transform of capital X1 of Z and its region of convergence is R1, and you have another signal x2 of n whose Z transform is capital X2 of Z with a region of convergence R2, then what would be the Z transform of a signal x a x n plus b x 2 n, where a and b can be complex numbers, right. So, this expression would be straightforward. What is more important here is that the region of convergence, because this is an additional thing. This derivation would be very similar to the linear derivation of linearity property of a DTFT signal, which you are now very familiar, you should be quite familiar with by this time. However, there is a additional complication of the region of convergence. So, if you have two such signals, the region of convergence of this superimposed signal has to be the intersection of the two region of convergences. So, this is so again in the next lecture we would solve some problems. So, there we would use this property to see look at some interesting cases. The next property is time shift property. Again, x of n has z transform given by capital X of z and its region of convergence is R. What would be the effect on the z transform? So, if the signal is time shifted by n naught, in the z domain you would get this. This again you can derive it very simply by. So, I won't be covering the complete derivation. So, x1 of z would be, so I would say I would write x1 of n is x of n minus n naught, and then x1 of z would be summation x of n minus n naught z to power minus n. Here n goes from minus infinity to plus infinity. Here I would substitute, let m is equal to n minus n naught, or okay, let it be k, and then you would replace the summation, and then finally you will get this expression, right. So, here also the region of convergence would remain the same, except with a possible addition or deletion of origin or infinity, because you get a term of z to power minus n naught. So, it is possible that there would be a pole coming in. What will be poles and zeros we will be discussing later. So, this case of except, this should be highlighted, but you will better understand it after a couple of lectures. So, what would be the third property? Third property is the time reversal property. Here again, x of n has z transform x of capital X of z, our region of convergence is R, such that, so R generally what I am saying is there is some region R. So, it can be this, or it can be inside also. We will next lecture we will look at the example. So, we will look at the cases where ROC is inside a circle, or it can be in general between two bounds. Or it can be between so this can be your ROC. So, when I am writing R can be any of these. So, here again you follow the, I mean you should pause this video, derive this on your own. Derivation is very important. I mean I do not want to cover it in the video lecture because it increases the size of the file, video file, but you should derive all of these. So, Fourier z transform of x of minus n would be x of z inverse, and region of convergence would be this. So, the bounds here would be reversed. This same thing is sometimes written as that if the ROC is R, the ROC of time reverse signal would be 1 by R. Oppenheim uses this terminology of 1 by R. Sometimes it is not clear what actually is meant by 1 by R, because R is not a number, R is a region. So, basically it means that the bounds are reverse, I mean the bounds become reciprocal. So, Oppenheim uses this terminology, whereas Proakis uses this terminology. I prefer this terminology because it is more clear. So, next property would be time expansion. We had seen this property for DTFT as well. I think we had derived this as well in the class by taking an example of signal. You follow the same procedure and you derive this. Region of convergence you get by applying the convergence property. So, what would be the convergence property? What would be the condition for the series to converge, that condition would give you the region of convergence. Here again r to power 1 by k would mean that the bounds are scaled. This would mean that the are scaled. The fifth property is scaling in z domain, that is essentially multiplying the signal by z to power n in the time domain. Here the region of convergence is mod z r is the, so again this is multiplied, this is also scaled. Right. Conjugation property, here the region of convergence remains same, because region of convergence essentially depends on the mod property. So, you should derive this as well. Convolution property, one of the most important properties. So, in the next lecture we will also look at, when we go to the system analysis, we will also again look at this property. I mean, we will have another perspective of this property in the next lecture or next to next lecture. Basically, if two signals are convolved in time domain, in the frequency, in the z domain they are multiplied. Here again the region of convergence, you should note, is the intersection of these two signals. Differentiation in z domain, in the z domain, if I multiply a signal in the time domain, if I multiply a signal with n, so if I have signal n x n, in the z domain it is given by minus z d x z by d z, region of convergence remains the same. Derive this as well. Then there is this accumulation property, which we had not derived for DTFT, but I had given you this to you as a homework. So, basically what you have to do is, you can write this summation as summation of k going from minus infinity to infinity instead of n. But what I would do is, I would write x of k and I would multiply this by n minus k. We had done similar thing for continuous times integration property as well. So, go back to the continuous time Fourier transform and look at the integration property of the Fourier transform, and there you would see a similar thing which we did. So, I can write this is actually, I can write w of n as x of k convolution with, or x of n convolution with u of n, and using the multiplication, using the convolution property, if I go in the z domain, I would simply get the multiplication of these two. Here is this part. Fourier transform of u of n is 1 by 1 minus z to power minus 1. Here the, how do you get this? In the very first example which we had considered, oh, where did it go? Yeah, here now you can substitute a is equal to 1, because you have a region of convergence, right. So, here if you substitute a is equal to 1, you get 1 upon 1 minus z inverse. You could not simply substitute a is equal to 1 here, you had to apply the limits and you got an impulse function for DTFT. But now you have left the constraint of a single circle, So you can actually expand the region of convergence and get away with the impulses. So here you don't get an impulse. In the next class, when we look at the Fourier transform next class when we look at the Z transform of basic common signals, there again we will revisit this. And what would be the region of convergence? Region of convergence would be the intersection of R1, where R1 is the ROC of xn xz, and mod z greater than 1. So, this is the ROC of Z transform of U of n. The same property, accumulation property, has another aspect, which is the difference in time domain. So, here you are actually you are summing all the values of x from minus infinity, all the past values of x. So, this was basically summing all the values of x of n. Here what you are doing is you are differencing, taking a difference. So, x of n is w of n minus w of n minus 1. Now, if you apply the Z transform properties of linearity, you can simply write x of z as w of z minus z inverse w of z. Z inverse you get from the time shift property. So, from time shift property you get this. You can write this, and you can see that w of z is 1 by z inverse x of z. Right. There is another final property which we will be discussing today, and then we will stop. So, the final property is initial value theorem. If this is only for the particular case of if x of n is 0 for n less than 0, that is the signal is causal, or if this was an impulse response, I would say the system is causal. In that case, x of 0 is limit z tending to infinity x of z. Right. So, you look into how you get this as well. This is basically you expand the summation. So, you basically have x of n going from 0 to infinity, z to power minus n. You can expand this as x of 0 plus x of 1 z inverse plus x of 2 z to power minus 2 and so on. So, if you substitute the limit z tending to infinity, all these terms would go to 0, and then what you will get is x of 0. Right. So, I will stop here today. Just to summarize what we have learned today, we saw the relationship between Z transform and DTFT. We saw the inverse Z transform. We derived the synthesis equation. We looked at the properties of Z transform. We looked at around 11 properties. In the next lecture, we will look at Z transform of common signals. We'll solve some problems on Z transform and region of convergence, and we will look at some very important properties of region of convergence. Right. So, I hope you will refresh all these concepts before the next lecture. I will upload the next lecture soon.